In a quiet black suburb outside Richmond, Virginia, a kind, elderly neighbor named Mr. Elbert tends to his front yard rose garden every morning and waves to the children walking to school. But when a pipe bursts under his porch and a local plumber digs too deep, a long-buried steel box is unearthed containing a false passport, fingerprints, and a blood-stained FBI badge from 1981. As a rookie black female detective named Nia Coleman begins to investigate, she uncovers that Mr. Elbert was once a gifted con artist involved in one of the largest unsolved art heists in U.S. history, and a suspect in the disappearance of a federal agent. But after 40 years, is he still dangerous? Or just an old man trying to atone for a past he can't erase? Before we uncover today's case, a quick reminder. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a single clue, twist, or breakthrough in the stories to come. Now, let's dive into the case. The morning Mr. Elbert's past clawed its way to the surface. The roses in his yard were just beginning to bloom. Blood red, just like they'd always been. The rising sun filtered through a haze of warm Virginia mist, spilling soft light over the modest homes lining Monroe Street. Birds chirped, lawnmowers hummed, and old man Elbert Langston, in his pressed khaki slacks and sweat-faded Norfolk State hoodie, knelt in the dirt with his gloved hands wrapped around a fresh bush of Don Juan climbing roses. He wasn't much of a talker, but he nodded at every child who passed his front gate. On this Tuesday morning, he gave a nod to Jalen and Kiara, the twins from next door, and handed them each a fresh biscuit, wrapped in napkin paper like he always did. "Y'all don't let nobody treat you less than you're worth today," he said, his voice soft and slow like an old record player. They giggled and ran off. Elbert Langston stood, knees popping, and stretched his back with a grunt. That's when the plumber arrived. "Mr. Langston?" The man called, stepping out of his rusted white van. "Over here," Elbert waved, brushing off his gloves. The plumber was young, maybe early 30s, with tattoos creeping up his neck and a Bluetooth speaker swinging from his belt blasting go-go music. Name's Darnell. "Y'all got water in the crawl space?" "Pipe's been groaning since Friday," Elbert nodded. "Might be old roots pressing on the joints. House been here since '59. Darnell set his toolkit down and disappeared beneath the porch. Elbert returned to trimming a stalk that had bent too far under the weight of a stubborn bloom. 10 minutes passed. Then came the yell. Mr. Langston?" Elbert's head turned slowly. "You got, something buried down here." Elbert didn't move. His body froze stiff as a gravestone. Darnell crawled back out, brushing dirt from his forearms. "Looked like a box. Metal. Locked up tight, but you can tell it's old." "You want me to pull it out?" Elbert's voice came hollow and delayed. "I know. I'll take care of it." But it was too late. Darnell was already tugging. Dirt collapsed with a loud grunt of earth. A rectangular steel case, rusted and dented at the corners, slid free from under the joists. No markings, no name. Just one faded yellow sticker that said, "Property of the Federal Bureau of Investigation." Darnell's music stopped. The air turned still. Elbert stared at the box like it had crawled up from hell itself. "Mr. Langston?" Darnell asked, quieter this time. "You okay?" Elbert didn't answer. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a worn handkerchief, and wiped his brow. That afternoon, Detective Nia Coleman stepped out of her patrol SUV wearing plainclothes slacks, crisp white tee, her badge clipped at the waist. She was 36, sharp-jawed and brown-skinned, with shoulder-length braids tied back loosely. She wasn't supposed to be here. This was beneath her rank now. But something about the report caught her eye. Unlicensed firearm, false ID, and possible federal materials recovered from a civilian residence. In a quiet neighborhood with no prior crime. "You're the detective?" Darnell asked when she approached. "I'm the one asking the questions," Nia said flatly, snapping on gloves. "You the plumber?" "Yeah. He told me not to touch it, but I didn't want to get blamed for no buried contraband." "Good instincts," she nodded. Nia knelt next to the steel box, now laid out on the front porch. An officer stood nearby cataloging contents. Elbert sat silently in a plastic chair by the garden hose, eyes locked on the box. "You open it?" Nia asked. "Had to," the officer replied. "We found this inside." He held up a Ziploc evidence bag. Nia stared. Inside was an FBI-issued leather wallet badge, still intact but bloodstained. A fingerprint kit, 2 1980s-style passports, one marked Elbert Langston, the other someone named Walter Mason, and one Polaroid of a man in a black ski mask holding what looked like a Rembrandt painting, dated March 1981. "Jesus," Nia muttered. "This man's been sitting on federal secrets for 40 years. She turned to Elbert. "Mr. Langston," she said gently. "Can we talk?" He didn't look at her, just stared off at the street. "My name ain't Langston," he whispered. And that box was supposed to stay buried. Later that night, in her office back at the station, Nia pulled up a list of 1980s federal fugitives and high-profile cold cases. She wasn't expecting anything, until one blurry image popped up. Wanted, Walter Mason. Alias, unknown. Last seen 1981. Suspected in FBI, Agent Leonard Giles' disappearance. Connection to Gardner Museum heist under investigation. Nia leaned forward, heart thudding. The man in the file had a fuller beard, but the eyes, they were Elbert's eyes. The interrogation room was dim, painted the color of wet cinder blocks, with a flickering light that hadn't been fixed in months. Nia Coleman sat across from the man she'd called Mr. Langston for years. Now she couldn't even say his name with certainty. He sat upright, hands folded neatly on the table, a calmness that didn't match the storm brewing outside. Rain ticked against the narrow window like a second hand on a broken clock. His eyes, gray and deep-set, didn't blink much. Didn't flinch when she placed the manila folder on the table and opened it slowly. "Walter Mason," she said quietly. "Is that your real name?" He didn't respond. She slid the Polaroid photo, one with the ski mask and Rembrandt, and placed it on the table between them. "That photo was recovered in Boston in '81, she said, from the body of an informant. Same time the FBI lost contact with Agent Leonard Giles." Still nothing. Nia leaned back. "You've lived under the name Elbert Langston for 42 years. In a neighborhood where kids call you Mister, and neighbors bring you sweet potato pie on Sundays." He finally looked at her. "I never asked for the pie." "That's not the point." "I know," he sighed, "but it matters." Nia stared at him hard. "Did you kill that agent?" "No," he said without hesitation. "But I didn't stop it, either." She didn't write anything down, just watched his expression steadily, carefully, the way she'd been taught. "You're going to have to do better than that." Flashback, Washington, D.C., 1981. He wasn't always soft-spoken. Back then, Walter Mason walked fast, talked faster, and had a tongue sharper than any knife on the street. At 27, he was already known in certain circles as the broker, a go-between for stolen goods, especially art. He didn't carry guns. He carried blueprints, camera plans, museum layouts, and timing charts. The FBI had been tracking him for almost a year, ever since the unsolved Baltimore library theft. But they couldn't catch him, not until he got too close to the wrong buyer. A man named Vincent Moretti, who was charming on the outside, but operated under the CIA's radar, flipping stolen goods for foreign payoffs. Walter thought he could make one last deal and disappear. He was wrong. One agent was assigned to shadow him, Agent Leonard Giles. Back in the interrogation room, Nia whispered. You knew Giles. Walter nodded. He was a good man. Too good for the job they gave him. What job was that? Watching people die slowly and not interfering. Nia frowned. You lost me. Walter leaned forward, his hands suddenly trembling just slightly. They wanted Giles to watch me pass the painting off, to see where it would land. I found out, and I told him not to show up, but he did, Nia guessed. Walter nodded once. And Moretti killed him. A silence hung heavy between them. Nia wanted to call him a liar, accuse him of fabricating a convenient ghost. But something in his face, some crack in his voice, made her hesitate. You were there? Walter nodded slowly. Yeah. She exhaled. Where's the painting now? He gave a tired smile. Gone. Burned. In a barn fire in Tennessee 3 decades ago. No one believed me then. They won't now. And Moretti? Walter's eyes went cold. He's alive. Changed names, new face. Living better than anybody, you know. Still has contacts. Still has secrets. Then why come forward now? He looked her dead in the eye. Because he found me again. That night, Nia drove back home to Southside Richmond, her mind spinning through timelines, records, and the weight of truths too late to matter in court, but still dangerous in the present. Her phone buzzed as she pulled into her driveway. Text message, blocked number. You're asking the wrong questions. Some things should stay buried. Walk away. She stared at the screen, thumb frozen. And she looked out the window. Across the street, where Mr. Langston's porch light once glowed every night without fail, the house was now dark. No movement. No garden hose. No rose clippers. No soft jazz playing on the old radio in the kitchen. The man was gone. Walter Mason had vanished. Again. 3 days later. Richmond Police Department, Cold Case Division. Detective Nia Coleman stood in front of a war board that hadn't been touched in years. The Gardner Museum heist. Agent Leonard Giles' disappearance. The missing Rembrandt. The faces of dead men, faded mugshots, and aged crime scene photos stared back at her like a jury that didn't blink. Her fingertips tapped nervously on the metal tray of her coffee cup, untouched. Behind her, Sergeant Micah Dorsey leaned against the filing cabinet, arms crossed, watching her work. I know that look, he said. You're knee-deep in ghosts. She didn't answer. He stepped forward. You really think Elbert Langston is Walter Mason? The Walter Mason? She nodded. Facial scan matches 89%. FB, I never caught him because they were too focused on tunnels and tech. Not once did they think the man would settle in the suburbs, start a quiet life, and grow roses. Micah smirked. So what now? I think he ran because someone found him, she said. I think Vincent Moretti, or whatever name he's using now, is still watching. Micah grew quiet at that. She walked over to her desk and pulled out a thick folder stamped, Do Not Reopen. Back in 2004, 2 FBI agents reopened the Moretti file off record. Said they got a tip he was funneling stolen Cold War art through a defense contractor in Virginia Beach. Both agents retired unexpectedly 3 weeks later. One moved to Montana. The other went missing. Micah frowned. Missing? Declared suicide. No body recovered. Micah took a slow breath and nodded toward the board. And you think you're next? I think I was warned. Meanwhile, an old motel outside Petersburg, Virginia. Walter Mason sat on the edge of a double bed that creaked with every shift of his weight. The room smelled like mildew and rust, with floral curtains barely holding back the summer heat. A Bible was open on the desk, unread. He stared at the burner phone in his hand, thumb hovering over a contact labeled simply Emerson. He hadn't used that name in over 20 years. Not since they'd last worked together to smuggle a stolen Monet out of Charleston, hiding it in a crate of Civil War relics. Emerson was dangerous, paranoid, the type to keep cyanide capsules just in case. Walter had kept his number anyway. And now, he dialed. 1 ring, 2, then, who the hell is this? Walter closed his eyes. It's me, it's Walter. A pause. Then laughter. Cold, bitter laughter. You're supposed to be dead, old man. Well, I'm not. Then you're in trouble. I need a favor. Emerson hissed through his teeth. You always do. I need a new name, new documents. And I need eyes on a man Vincent Moretti. He's still alive. There was another pause. You're too late. Walter's heart skipped. What? He's already looking for you. And if he's looking, he's close. If I help you, he'll come for me too. I saved your life once, Emerson. You saved my cut. There's a difference. Click. The line went dead. Back in Richmond, Monroe Street. Nia parked in front of Walter's Elbert's old house. It had been cordoned off since the day of the discovery. A for sale sign had been nailed into the yard, crooked and unconvincing. She walked around the perimeter, ignoring the hot wind, and made her way into the backyard. The roses were withering, dry from neglect, their beauty fading fast. And then she saw it tucked behind the dogwood tree, a new rose bush, freshly planted. She knelt down, heart suddenly pounding. The soil was darker than the rest, still moist, turned recently. She dug with her hands. 3 inches down, she hit a cloth bundle, wrapped in plastic, bound with twine. She opened it slowly. Inside, a flip phone with only 2 numbers stored. A folded note in faded cursive. If you're reading this, you're the only one left who might still believe in justice. And a passport with the name Nia Giles. Her breath caught in her throat. She read the name again. Nia Giles, not Coleman. She stumbled back, dizzy, sitting in the dirt. The name clawed at her memory. Her mother's maiden name had been Giles. She'd told her stories of a brother, an FBI agent who vanished in the 80s. No one ever found him. The family buried an empty casket in a cemetery outside Norfolk. Her mother never talked about it again. Nia had buried that history under her badge, but it had come back, full circle. She looked toward the street. A black SUV she hadn't noticed before was parked half a block down, windows tinted, engine idling. It pulled off when she stood up, but it had seen her, and whoever was inside knew she knew. The rain came suddenly, fat drops that clung to the window of Nia's apartment, like fingerprints on glass. She sat at her kitchen table, the bundled note from the rose garden laid open in front of her. Nia Giles. If you're reading this, you're the only one left who might still believe in justice. The phone from the dirt sat beside the note, blinking red. 1 voicemail. 1 message left at 3:17 a.m. No caller ID. Her finger hovered over the button. Then she pressed play. Walter's voice came through, gravelly and slow. I knew your uncle, Leonard. He was the kind of man that didn't bend, not to money, not to fear. I let him die, Nia. That guilt kept me buried longer than any cell ever could. But you have his eyes. You carry the fire he did. That's why I left you this, and why I didn't want to drag you into it. But it's too late now. Moretti's here. I saw him at the train yard tonight. Different face, same eyes. He'll come for me. And if he finds out what I gave you, he'll come for you too. You can walk away like I should have. Or you can finish what your uncle started. The message ended. Silence returned, heavy and sharp. Hours later, the Richmond train yard, 1:12 a.m. Nia stood alone behind a row of rusted containers, the wet gravel crunching beneath her boots. Her badge was tucked into her back pocket. Tonight, she wasn't here as a detective. Tonight, she came as Leonard Giles' niece. She gripped the flashlight tighter in her hand, every shadow stretching like a threat. Then she saw him. Walter. He stood near an old switching station, dressed in black, face drawn and solemn. Beside him, leaning against a stack of crates, was a man with a thick coat, salt and pepper hair, and the unmistakable stillness of someone used to being obeyed. Vincent Moretti. Nia stepped out into the open. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," she said calmly. Both men turned. Walter's eyes widened. "Nia, get out of here." "I'm not leaving," she said. "Not this time," Moretti laughed. "So this is the girl?" Giles' blood still running around in the open. "You killed him," she said. "He chose to die," Moretti replied. "I gave him the same offer I gave Walter here. Stay quiet. Keep breathing. He chose principle. That's always been a weakness." Walter's hand twitched at his side, fingers trembling. Moretti stepped forward. "You're too young to know how this world works. I've survived 5 administrations, 4 wars, and 2 disappearances. No badge, no legacy, no rosebush changes what's buried." Nia didn't flinch. "Then let's dig it up." From her coat pocket, she pulled out a flash drive and tossed it near Moretti's feet. "Every document Walter gave me scanned, backed up, timed release, facial scans, wire logs, transfer routes. You kill either of us, that file goes to the Bureau, and 2 newspapers I don't even like." Moretti's eyes flickered. Walter smiled. "Told you she had fire." A gunshot cracked the night. Walter gasped, grabbing his side. Moretti's hand was raised, smoking pistol steady. "You always talk too much," he muttered. Nia dove behind a rail post, drawing her own weapon. She fired once, missed. Moretti ran. She chased him between boxcars, over wet gravel and echoing steel. Her breath burned. Her mind screamed. But she followed him. A corner, a shadow. Then she caught him. One final standoff in the beam of her flashlight. He raised his gun again, but she didn't hesitate. One shot, center mass. He collapsed without a word. 2 weeks later, Norfolk Cemetery. The casket was small. No ceremony, no folded flag, no headlines. But Nia stood there anyway, rain soaking through her trench coat. The headstone read, "Leonard Giles, 1951 to 1981. Still watching." Next to it, a new stone was placed quietly by the groundskeeper. "Walter Mason, 1944 to 2025. Some truths are heavier than silence." She bent down, placed a single red rose between them, then stood up and walked away. Final scene, Booker T. Washington High School, Richmond. A new security guard walks the halls now. A younger woman. Fresh badge, wide eyes. Nia Coleman, no. Nia Giles walks past the metal detectors on her day off. A boy in 10th grade runs to catch her. "Miss Detective, you really shot a dude?" She smiles, just faintly. "Go to class, Jordan." As she turns to leave, she pauses at the gate. One of the rose bushes she planted in the courtyard is blooming, blood red, and still alive. If you felt something watching this, don't scroll past it. Because the next case is like this, it's already on its way. Somewhere. And the silence around it is already forming. This story wasn't about drama. It was about reality. About broken systems, blind spots, and decisions made too late. You don't need to be a detective to see the pattern. You just need to pay attention. So before it happens again, speak up. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Push for accountability. Don't wait for the cuffs or the body count. Your voice matters more than you know. Like, share, comment. Be part of the reason it doesn't happen again.